Okay, so welcome to another deep dive. You guys always send in the most interesting sources.
Oh, for sure.
This one, though, I gotta say, it's definitely a little bit outside of our usual wheelhouse. It's called The Lowdown on Going Down: How to Give Her Mind-Blowing Oral Sex.
Wow. Straight to the point with that title.
Right, no beating around the bush with this one. And the author is Marcy Michaels. It's not just like a typical sex guide.
Yeah, what is it then?
It's almost like, and I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but it's like an instruction manual. And it gets really, really detailed. You start to see how much like athleticism and precision is involved.
Interesting. So, what are we going to focus on today?
I think our mission today is to try to like sift through all the details and find those real golden nuggets of insight, the aha moments, the things that could really help people, maybe even transform how they think about this particular area of intimacy.
It sounds like we need a guide for this journey, someone who can break down the more technical aspects.
Exactly. And we happen to have the perfect person with us today.
Hmm.
Someone who really understands the mechanics of the mouth, not just for, talking and eating, but for pleasure as well.
Someone who can bridge the gap between, say, speech therapy and, mind-blowing oral sex.
You got it. They're going to help us connect all the dots.
This is going to be fascinating. Where do we even begin with a book like this?
Well, I think the backstory of the book itself is a great place to start. It's not like, a collection of anonymous survey data or anything like that. It really grew out of the author's personal experiences. After her marriage ended, she kind of went on this journey of sexual rediscovery.
That's a pretty common theme, finding yourself again after a major life change.
Absolutely. But here's where it gets really unique. Her background as a speech pathologist played a huge role in all of this. She actually talks about this, I guess you could call it an awakening she had.
Oh, tell me more.
She was in Atlantic City, and she met up with someone who, it turns out, used to be a speech therapist too. And, well, long story short, their encounter left her utterly blown away. She describes this person's oral skills as being superhuman. And that experience triggered this, like, light bulb moment for her. She realized that all those techniques that speech therapists use to help people gain control over their mouth and tongue, well, those could be applied to oral sex. It was like this whole new world opened up to her.
That's a pretty powerful realization. It really speaks to how our professional expertise can shape our understanding of, everything, even our sexuality. I'm curious, did her background in speech therapy inform her perspective on pleasure from the get-go?
I think it definitely did. Right from the start, the book makes this really strong argument that even though oral sex has the potential to be incredibly pleasurable and to really deepen intimacy, it's often sadly undervalued,
Undervalued how?
like not given the attention and respect it deserves. And she brings up this really interesting point. It's almost ironic, right? We use our mouths for all these basic things like eating, talking, and even protecting ourselves. But then we also use them for this intensely intimate act. But for some reason, there's often this weird stigma attached to it.
Yeah, like it's somehow less important than other forms of sex.
Exactly. And she thinks that these lingering societal taboos contribute to this lack of appreciation.
That makes sense.
Oh, and get this. She cites a statistic from a survey of what she calls career women. 92% of them said they actually prefer oral sex to any other kind of sexual activity.
Wow, that's a pretty big majority.
It's huge EE, right?
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, are we missing something in how we approach intimacy as a society?
It definitely raises some questions. And it underscores the importance of understanding and truly valuing what brings our partners the most pleasure.
Couldn't agree more. And that actually leads right into the book's next big point.
Mm.
Why do you think so many people struggle to give good oral sex?
I mean, I would guess lack of experience, maybe some nerves.
Those are definitely factors, but the author argues that the biggest culprit is actually a lack of skill and knowledge. Like, it's not about not wanting to please your partner. It's about not knowing how to do it effectively.
Okay, I see what you mean. So it's a skill that can be learned, like anything else.
Exactly. And she uses this very specific example of stimulating the clitoris. She talks about using a combination of lip suction and a circular motion with the tongue. It sounds almost like a technical instruction.
Oh, it does. Like there's a very precise technique involved.
Exactly. And she argues that most people simply haven't developed the kind of jaw and tongue control needed to pull that off. So the book sets out to teach you those skills.
Okay, I'm starting to see where this is going. So she's saying that it's not some innate talent. Anyone can learn to do this well.
And this is where her background as a speech pathologist comes in. She essentially compares speech therapy to Olympic training for oral sex.
Wow, that's a bold comparison.
It is, right. But when you think about it, it kind of makes sense. Speech therapists work with people to develop this incredible level of muscular control and dexterity in their mouths, tongues, and jaws. And she argues that those same skills are crucial for giving amazing oral pleasure.
That connection is pretty brilliant, actually. It really reframes how we think about oral sex. Like, it's not just about going through the motions, there's a real art to it.
Absolutely. And it brings a whole new level of awareness to the act itself.
Can you give me a specific example of how a speech therapy technique might translate to oral sex?
She actually recommends using Cheerios, of all things. Like, imagine taking a Cheerio and using your tongue to move it around your mouth in very specific ways. She says that helps build the kind of fine motor control you need for, stimulating the clitoris with precision.
That's a really interesting way to make it practical.
It is, right. And she emphasizes how powerful the tongue actually is. We often don't even think about it, but relative to its size, it's the strongest muscle in the human body. She even says that just by swallowing, we're exerting thousands of pounds of pressure with our tongues every single day.
That's amazing.
Right. And here's another aha moment. She says that proper tongue placement is key, like where your tongue naturally rests when you're not talking or eating. Ideally, it should be gently resting on the roof of your mouth.
So it's about having that awareness of where your tongue is, even when you're not actively using it?
Exactly. It optimizes its strength and dexterity, which directly affects your ability to, use it effectively during oral sex.
That's a great point. It's like setting a good foundation for any kind of skilled movement.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you think about all the little things that can affect our performance without us even realizing it.
Totally. And speaking of things we don't often talk about, the book also tackles some of the common issues that can make giving oral sex challenging. Things like, lockjaw, worrying about teeth getting in the way, dealing with too much saliva, and of course, the dreaded gag reflex.
Those are all real concerns that a lot of people probably experience but don't feel comfortable talking about.
Exactly. And by bringing those issues out in the open, the book makes it clear that it's okay to struggle with these things. And more importantly, it provides practical advice and techniques to overcome them.
So she's normalizing those struggles and empowering people to work through them.
That's a great way to put it. She wants people to know they're not alone and that there are solutions. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It shifts the focus from shame and secrecy to empowerment and skill building. Now, having delved into these foundational concepts, what would you say are the most important takeaways from the lowdown on going down?
Well, I think the biggest one is that being good at oral sex isn't some magical talent. It's about learning specific skills and practicing them, just like you would with any other physical skill. It's about dedication and effort.
Like becoming an athlete of pleasure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the connection to speech therapy is just mind-blowing. It gives you a whole new framework for thinking about oral sex.
And don't forget the importance of addressing common challenges head on. The book provides concrete strategies for overcoming those hurdles, which can be really empowering for people who have struggled in the past.
Totally agree. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's talk about the bigger picture here. The book doesn't just focus on techniques. It also emphasizes the importance of mindset and communication. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's crucial. It's not just about the physical act itself. It's about feeling comfortable, confident, and connected with your partner. It's about creating a space where both partners can openly communicate their desires and boundaries.
Absolutely. Addressing any anxieties about performance, body image, and even just the natural realities of genitalia, that's just as important as mastering the physical techniques, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And prioritizing your partner's pleasure, genuinely wanting them to feel good, that transforms the whole experience. It's no longer just about achieving orgasm. It's about a shared journey of exploration and intimacy.
Right. It's about being present and responsive to your partner's cues. And we've talked about some of the exercises in the book, starting with the basics, like proper tongue placement and those introductory lip exercises, pucker up and E like eat, O like swoon. Those are all about building that initial strength and flexibility in the lips.
And those serve as a foundation for the more advanced lip exercises. She calls them the saltwater pump and the jug of plenty. They sound pretty intense.
Oh, they definitely are.
Yeah.
And then for the tongue, you've got those foundational exercises, nose touch, chin touch, up and down, side to side, which lead into the intermediate exercises like the tongue cluck, the ticks, and even the whole tongue suck.
It's fascinating how she breaks it down into these progressive steps, just like learning any other skill. You start with the fundamentals and gradually build up to more complex movements.
And of course, she dedicates a whole section to understanding female anatomy, like knowing the different parts of the clitoris, the labia, the urethra, the G-spot. Is all about targeted stimulation, not just random motions.
Right. Understanding how the female body works is essential for providing effective and pleasurable stimulation.
And then there are those crucial ground rules that she lays out. Using your hands in conjunction with your mouth, maintaining eye contact to really stay connected with your partner, always prioritizing their pleasure above your own, and of course, practicing good hygiene.
The basics, but so important.
Absolutely. And she has this principle she calls green means go, red means no. It's all about paying attention to your partner's cues and respecting their boundaries at all times.
That's so crucial for ethical and enjoyable intimacy. It's about making sure everyone feels safe and respected throughout the experience.
So as we wrap things up here, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. If the tongue, this muscle that we use every day without much thought, has this incredible potential for pleasure, what other seemingly mundane aspects of our bodies might be holding similar secrets?
That's a great question. It makes you think about all the unexplored possibilities within ourselves.
Exactly. And maybe the same dedication and practice that we apply to our careers or hobbies could lead to amazing discoveries in our intimate lives as well. This whole deep dive into oral sex, with its unexpected connection to speech therapy, has really challenged us to rethink pleasure, skill development, and the power of dedicated learning.
It's been an eye-opening conversation for sure, and I hope it inspires listeners to approach their own intimacy with a renewed sense of curiosity and a willingness to explore.
Couldn't have said it better myself.